1972 that I went to Newcastle in Tyne with a man called Tim Lyons. No, I went over to a man called, he was George Henderson. He brought me to Newcastle in Tyne. So it was my first time going to England. And it was a great experience that time, I must say, for me to go to England. So it was a Holy Thursday. We landed in a place called Newcastle in Tyne of a Good Friday, and all the people were going up to a place called Hike in Scotland, up to see the mountains. So the man of the house brought me up in the car anyway up to Hike, and I thought that the mountain wasn't high at all. That when we went up to the top of it, when I looked down, oh God, I thought I was afraid of my life. I feared that anything at all, that the car could turn, that we'd roll way down the valley. I felt terrible up on top of that mountain. But that was the first time I went to England. So then, after I start that year, I came home, and the man come over from Germany. He wanted to know with the brother and myself go to Germany, and he went to the flagpole in Listowel, and he heard me play there. I won the All Ireland the same day. I got first for the tin whistling. So he asked me, he booked me for Germany anyway. So I agreed to go. My brother didn't go. He never went. So I had to go by boat, and all the rest of the people went by plane. It was a kind of a hard situation. They had two vans that time instead of, they have two big buses on the road now, the people that brought us over first. We'd be playing cars every day in a table, and the van going doing 100 miles an hour in the autobahn. And it was a nice tour that time. So I have gone maybe 10 times to Germany since. I went to America then in 1976 to the Bicentennial Festival. They brought me over. We were in Washington, Philadelphia, Chicago, and a place called Fort Dodge, and Baltimore. I seen 1 million people one day in a place called Lincoln Memorial Park. And it's very hard for an Irishman, they say, to sing a song in front of an Englishman. So I was singing anyways. I sang some songs at the festival in Lincoln Memorial Park, and played tunes there by 20 minutes of myself. But I was singing where this song, I thought anybody wasn't taking any great notice of me, but this man called Bert Lloyd, he was there specially from England, representing England for the Bicentennial Festival. So I sang this song anyway, and the words would be, oh boys, I'm glad to meet you. If I had money, thought I'd treat you. 'Tis with the song I'd fondly greet you in our own dear land. Do your best for one another, love your neighbour as your brother. Party feelings we must smother in our own dear land. Oh boys, I'm glad to meet you. If I had money, thought I'd treat you. 'Tis with a song I'd fondly greet you in our own dear land. Now in this age of agitation, whilst we seek home legislation, we're not in the need of separation to ruin our own dear land. Oh boys, I'm glad to meet you. If I had money, thought I'd treat you. 'Tis with a song I'd fondly greet you in our own dear land. The British Commons, they must own, but they have plenty business of their own. So let us settle ours at home in our own dear land. Oh boys, I'm glad to meet you. If I had money, thought I'd treat you. 'Tis with a song I'd fondly greet you in our own dear land. So I finished the song anyway. I looked way behind the hood and I seen the man coming, and he'd taken long strides, and I said to myself, this man is heading for me. And he came up anyway. He made his way up to the stage, and he was a man called Bert Lloyd, a big man representing England for the Bicentennial Festival. And what he said to me was, I like the words of your song very much, he said. Young man, I don't know who you are, but I like your song. Ciarán Mac Mahona was more them singing, and Tom Munnelly for the singing. And well, then there was two boys from Trinity College. A piper called Donald Byrne, if we ever heard tell him, and another piper. Donald O'Connor's and Dennis Doody from Kerry. Eddie Clark, mouth organ player. Sonny McDonough from Sligo, flute player. The Mork set. Some pipers and step dancers. There was about 25 people in the whole tour. It was a great tour. So we were going over in the big jumbo anyway, and everyone was sitting down they were half quiet, you know. And next thing somebody started playing music, and for Ciarán Mac Mahona said, by God, boys, to see, I think the Morok set will have to go dancing. They danced above in the big jumbo, and all the people gathered around to see what was going on. It was great excitement for me to see a set dancing in the jumbo and they're heading for New York. So that's the air of a song called Lochnagar, but as far as I think now, that I was thinking that I said that in another tape before about where the two fishermen went across the Cork in a Cork over to Lochnagar Bay. They had an argument about this tune called Lochnagar, to know which of them had it right. So they knocked the cork in the middle of the night, and he went over across to a man called the geezer Keaton. He used to play the mouth organ that time, was he? So I don't know what happened that whether they met the geezer or not, but and they're coming back. There's a town under the water. There's come up every 7 years called St. Stephen's Church. So one of the brothers was supposed to see that town. They said somebody said that he was dead in a short time after, and it is said that the town. Well, in the 9th century there was an earthquake, and that all the land went down, and that Clare was joined up to Galway, all out to the Aran Islands and all. So that town is often seen by the old fishermen. They call it St. Stephen's Church, and it's supposed to come up when somebody get a cay in the bottom of a lake in a place called Mount Callan in Clare. But that's the tune that they wanted to know which one had it right. And well, no, Kieran McMahona's son, Pádraig McMahona, plays that in a different slow air altogether. I got that from an old man from Micho, Malbay. He was in America for years, but I never learned the song. But I just give you an example of how the first verse does go. Away, ye grey landscapes, ye gardens of roses, and you in your minium let luxury rove. Restore me back the fine places where the snowflake reposes, if still they are sacred to freedom and love. Brave Caledonian, dear are thy mountains. So it goes on like that, and it's a lovely song. And he spoke out and about the great polar star. So I have the music, you would all right, but I wouldn't have the song. I'm going to play some set dance tunes now that this more or less in these later years they're a little bit forgotten, and to the pity, because in the 1950s and 60s the dancing was lovely. People used to go in a lot for step dancing and fishes and all that kind of thing. So I think to the pity that should be neglected, and that the musicians should, well, learn to play the way the dancers wanted them. There's one dance now that once set dance this it's kind of forgotten more or less, is the retreat. So I'll play the retreat. Good. So those tunes, I think that it's a pity that they should be played or learned and played more for dance. There's a lot to be said about those set dances. I thought myself was saying when I was young that, well, I was a bit the same as every young musician. I thought that I had everything that would. I think younger musicians should listen to what older people. This man, I played the dance for him and he was dancing at him. So he stopped in the middle of it. I'm sorry to tell you, Sissy, that you're leaving out a bit of that. So I got more or less excited and I was telling him that what did he know about it, but he explained it to me. And I had to apologise to him after. He said you must play a part for each leg to finish out the step, you see. If we leave it out, you see, the dancer won't be able to dance it. So they were very accurate in their playing and the dancing that time. So another set dance would be a man called Moher. He dances lovely, and what he told me, well, the best, a man called Gaoth Aneas, he plays that for me. He's a very good musician, and so I'd play the what's that is? Said it hard. The St. Patrick's Day, was it? Sorry, I'd have to stop and say something now in the middle of this. If the musician watched the dancer and more or less combine himself with the dancer in a split second and watch his movements and try to play like the way he's dancing, you learn an awful lot. So a man called Brendan Brown, God rest his soul, said that any traditional musician wouldn't be too capable entirely for playing for trained step dancers, because, well, the man was right, but because you'd have to learn to know what you nearly be, well, you want to be able to dance a bit yourself to understand a little bit about what they'd be doing. But then again, the ordinary man, I can play, musician, he can play for the man that won't be very well trained. They get on all right together some ways or another. And then another dance would be the Humours of Bandon, in Galway. So that's another one of the set dances. Well, I'd like them to go back to the old times. I seen the old step dancers, you know, a man called the Slipper. In the old days, his real name would be Patch Conneely from Inisheer. Well, I seen Patch one day, the poor man, the Lochnagar and so on. It was a very cold day, and he was a very light man. He walked at the tops of his toes, more or less, and he'd pass on. He'd pass you like more like a bird than he was so light. And what Conneely used to say was, he wanted a man called Johnny Sharry in the old days. You crook Johnny Sharry Bronert nor Kasha and Joel, he said. So Johnny, Johnny, the words he used to play for Conneely was different. The right hole, grand old wave. So that was their way of entertaining the people that time, and you'd notice it is even done today in Connemara that likes to come down for a big stop in the middle of the finishing a step. Like there's something, you know, that keeps the music and the dance like at a pace. So that's the way the Slipper used to dance then. And another man called Droney, John Droney, he was lovely altogether. You'd like to see the pair of shoes this man used to have. They should be so hard and tied up, very lovely sound out of them. And Droney used to dance, well, kind of a, not altogether too fast hornpipe called the Harvest Home. But, I'd like to tell what Brendan Branagh said about the Kerry dancers. He said it's no wonder they won so many All-Ireland finals, dancing those slides and polkas, they loosened out their bones. You'll have to get a Kerry man for to play Kerry Slide, you see. But however, I'll give a small bit of an example about the way they dance the slide. So, Brendan, God rest him, must have great imagination about those tunes, and that tune will remind you of the football staying there all the time in combination and all that kind of, you know. So, well, that's the Kerry, my version of the Kerry way of playing. Well, there was another thing then in the old days, kind of old slip jigs. They have to dance them slowly, kind of not all together too fast, but they had their own kind of a way for. This is an old slip jig that just used to be played, but before my time. That whole tune must be old because it have old words like Tam gan im gan or, Tam gan or gan ariged, Tam goes a fawn, is Neil and Georgia Wanike, Tear oldum row, Tear oldum shanavan, Tear oldum row, is banyan the goes a craggerna. It means, well, the banyan the goes a craggerna means the milk of the goat and the cream. And another one, I seen another man dancing one time. As far as I see, it comes from more or less from England or maybe Scotland. They're called the Keel Row. So that would be more or less an English or a Geordie country dance. But someone told me one time that someone passed up Buckingham Palace and he heard Princess Margaret inside, and what she was listening for the children was, Mary may the keel row, the keel row, the keel row, Mary may the keel row, the ship my laddie's in. Well then, I was in a place called Inishmore in Arn. I was at Kelly there one time. I thought it was lovely altogether. There was two men playing two accordions, and they were dancing a barn dancing. All the heavy men, big men from Keel Row were dancing in this thing, and I thought it was the night stopped. The memories of the night stopped in my head ever since, you see. And they were all in terrible form altogether. And the priest was inside in the middle, and he's shaking hands to everyone. And the tune they were dancing was, I found out after from a fellow called Davy Arthur that plays with the Furies. That was his name. He called was Moneymusk. The whole hall was going up and down with this music and the dance here. Memories like those things that would stop in a person's head, you see, because well, when you go to the Arn Island, you would feel different altogether to the mainland, you see. And very funny, the same day, another friend myself, he was playing the fiddle and I was playing the flute, and the man that was driving the boat, his name, well, he could be dead now, the man, but the poor man, he liked the music so much that he danced the hornpipe behind the wheel and he driving the boat into Keel Row. All the people were laughing in the pier waiting, and the man was turning around the boat, you see, he was trying to dance at the same time. he liked the enjoyment so much that he said he'd go dance and driving having the hold of the big wheel, you see. So, I haven't heard in tape one time that some people interviewed a man called Eddie Butcher from north of Ireland. He was a great singer. He's dead now, but anyways, they asked this man, what was the cause of the Titanic going down? And the answer he gave was, says he, I think it was only proper accidents. It could happen any time. But he sings the Titanic in a different way to me, and I think there's some great talk be given in this lecture on the television about Captain Smith stood on the bridge and gave his orders clear. That's a part of the verse, but my version of the song would be, the world o'er from shore to shore will mourn at the loss of that big ship on her first trip the ocean for to cross. There was no fear but joy and cheer upon that big ship's deck. Oh, who would think she was to sink and become a total wreck? She left the port in joy and sport, a tower of manly craft, with human freight of hundreds eight, a crew of fore and aft, who did rejoice until the ice brought sorrow, grief and gloom, and sent that ocean's pride for to reside into a watery doom. It was at night, it was a fright, with most of them undressed. That gallant crew, what could they do? But they done their best. They lowered each boat and put afloat children and their wives. No selfish thought to them was brought to save their own dear lives. But alas, that struggling mass was never more to land. In their dear homes the raging foam had them at his command. The seething waves must be their graves. May heaven have each soul and comfort give to those that live and resound from pole to pole. Titanic named, for strength was famed, 'twas built for speed, for price. But how frail when it did sail upon that berg of ice. That thing of pride it did wide from stem to stern and two. May those it drowned in peace be found, both passengers and crew. May God control each perished soul of bodies in the deep, and send relief and stem the grief their friends for to console. When with a smile good Father Boyle his blessing on them gave, may heaven bless and send success for those he tried to save. So, I hope the people that will be watching the television and listening to the lecture about the Titanic and all that happened, that they can explain more about it than what I can in the song, but they might think of myself when they hear that song. But I'm going to play the flute this time. There I'm going to play would be the south wind, or the Gaoth Aneas. I had a lot of old tunes in places and people talking about them. I was down in a place called Macroom in the County Cork, and I played a reel, and this man was in it anyway. He was a very clever man. He was a teacher, and he was very accurate in the Gaelic language. And, do you know the name of that tune? He said. I don't, I said. Well, I know it, says he. And he'd have a name called Bóthar the Sup. And that means, long ago when all the sidecars would be lined up for to get waiting for people, they used to have a nice bit of very well saved hay left in the well of their car for the horse to be eaten, horse after horse eaten up after one another. It was called Bóthar the Sup, and the sup that would fall down the road is called, to be left, they call it Bóthar the Sup or Sup. The foolish and old tune to the very traditional Bóthar the Sup. Well, long ago in Doolin, near where I lived, there's a stone in the field. Or it is there, I suppose it's there maybe over 100, 200 years maybe. And the piper used to play sitting down that stone long ago. So there's a lot of stories told about the same place where they used to dance around without no shoes in the old days, and there was such a thing as from the piper had played the tune, whoever they used to put up what they call an old mistletoe at that time. They had their own kind of a way of making a mistletoe of 3 trees or something, and whoever come under the mistletoe, they were supposed to get married. Or in modern dance halls now, you're supposed to go out in the middle of the floor and kiss the girl in the middle of at the opposite the people, but that's the way they had. So these two people came under their mistletoe, and so one went to America, the girl went to America and the man went to Australia, and he came back and went to America after, and seems that they didn't get married. They got broken up, and there was a lot of pipers used to come from all over Munster, and there was a prize given for a girl. The piper would give a ribbon to put in her hair, and it was a great honour to win this ribbon, you see, that time. So there used to be a lot of fighting and brawling going on. The way the man described it was with the woman going around with the caillebotte, into no wonder at all that there'd be some brawling and fighting. And it's according to older tradition, there was a piper killed and thrown out with the tide. The tune they used to dance was a tune called the Piper Share, Cathaoir An Phiobaire. Well, one would be for more or less for beginners. A tune called I Have Two Yellow Ghosts or Gabhairín Bhuí to be more or less for children now from. So that's a tune more or less for beginners or young children to be learning to play maybe. There's nice Gaelic words going with it. Tá Gabhairín Bhuí agus Micho baine Bishin siad mo chrí ga dóte bhile Ní le ná te chrúte ní ach sísam hatta Lige ma hatta tríde fúd bhile Sin port na fuligin Phiobaire Hílín ladí Sean ó Ceallainn Phiobaire Bíoch sé mar sin The road to Galway would be another one of the old tunes for moreover for people from maybe from Germany that would be like to learn to play. That's the tune they call the road to Galway. Well, I wish they had a Kerry Cow would be another name for it, and the words would be I wish I had a Kerry Cow, a Kerry Cow. I wish I had a Kerry Cow, and I'd milk her night and morning. And I got those words from Moher O'Sullivan's wife. She sings down a place called Glenstall Abbey. So she sang this little verse for me. Tá seán olí hir sa gleon, cig be gasa féin sa clón, ní dada jobhar trom agus marin sé agus sásta. Óró me gille hú, gram chrí me gille hú, óró me gille hú, patabag sa Moher. There's a lot of kind of characters come around. In the old days, you see, they were more or less storytellers and a lot of songs, and one small little man came the way one. I never seen this mounted people, and what he used to be saying was, Orkin Vara by the sea, ahi, ahi, ahi. That was the song he had. They used to come, a man called John Hennessy, but he was more of a step dancer. He used to teach dance and charge a penny a step. Well, the people in the olden days, they used to go to Sandbridge as well. That's only 4 miles from where I live. So I was often there myself, and there's from the people that have their own done, there'd be dance going on in the two pubs till morning. So this will give you an instance about what happened that time. Well, this is the eve of the 15th of August. They call it the Feast of the Assumption. Well, in the olden days, all the people used to come from the Aran Islands, and we'd be young lads, we'd be watching out in the bay, and the morning would be very rough. I remember to see that myself. The morning would be very rough, and after about 6 o'clock, the sea used to calm down 1/4 of an hour, and you'd see all the currachs in the line coming in from Aran Islands. We'd be watching from our own house. So after a while, the sea used to calm down. They'd be coming from the Aran Islands, coming down to Doolin, and they used to be met with people with sidecars and all common cars, and brought over to St. Bridget's Well to do the rounds there. You have to do a special rounds there. You have to say and go round in a special way, and if the prayer was heard, you'd see a kneel in the bottom of the well. There's a well there, St. Bridget's Well. There was a kneel swimming below, and you'd see him if your prayers were heard. So when they had their prayers done there, there'd be a big dance till morning. The two public houses used to be open. And older than that again, the people from Connacht used to come on horses and cars to the same well. And the women used to be sitting inside in the common car, and they'd be having blankets down on themselves to keep themselves warm, because it was a long road to come. So most of them would be 70 or 80 miles, you see. So they'd use big horses at that time. They were moving very slowly. So I'd seen the long cars myself. But anyways, I think I told this before. So that's the story about St. Bridget's Well. So anyways, the tune that would be associated with that place would be the Cliffs of Moher, maybe, or